Hello. Hi. How are you? Guys, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be back and to play in this new server. So here is the new server, RosalitaRP. And oops. And the server opened yesterday. It's a fresh new server. And I'm playing here with some friends. Maybe you will recognize some of them. We had a bunch of former players from Wild and other servers, and it's very, very funny. Guys, I'm so happy to play Red Dead Redemption again. And this is the new character, Apolline de Sierra. De Villeneuve, sorry. She's so sweet. I love her. And I will tell you about the background and a bit of everything later. But she is a new character. She is in a new environment, in a new world. Everything is new, you know. It's nothing about Eleanor or Wild or whatever server. Everything is new. And I hope you can hear the game clearly also. Uncle? Oh. Not sure what is going on. We have heard a few shots earlier. Is my uncle inside? He was around. Oh, and I'm playing with two French friends that I used to play in Wild and Ranch. And they're playing my cousin and my uncle.
Everybody gets to know what happens.
So I'm back.
Many times. Hello there. This is my niece, by the way.
Hello.
Lovely to meet you, ma'am.
I don't think we've been introduced.
Oh, sorry, I'm Apolline de Villeneuve. And you are?
Winnie. Apolline.
Mm-hmm, correct.
Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You can call me Mademoiselle de Villeneuve.
Or Lady de Villeneuve in English, but
Correct.
it's Mademoiselle is a little bit complicated.
Beautiful
to
name.
punch in it.
Mademoiselle works.
Perfect. It works. Am I interrupting something?
Oh, no. No way at all. Apologies. My name is Mr. Quinn. Gabrielle Quinn.
Mr. Quinn. And on my right?
I am Mr. Cole, Don Cole.
Enchanté.
Splendid, isn't it?
Is it your establishment?
Indeed it is. We are just having conversation regarding your... Was it uncle?
Correct.
Right. Regarding your uncle's mayoral run, so to say.
Oh, amazing. Around this piece of paper? Sweet.
Indeed.
Yes, that's for sure. We didn't have the pleasure to go around and to discover all of your offices, but for now I do see that you have a pretty good production of the newspaper, and I like to see it, and I like to talk to people directly where they work. Not in fancy places. I don't really care about this. I like to talk to people even if they are busy talking, working or something. It's not a problem.
Oh, pardon me. Would you like a copy of the newspaper? It's only 50 cents.
Oh, sure.
I think I have one. Is it the same every week? How does it work?
It would be the one, same one as I believe we may have sold you the other day. Yes.
Oh yes, we did
What?
run into you yesterday, perhaps.
I'll take one. I didn't took
Yes.
it. So it's all good.
I thought I recognized your voice, perhaps.
There you go, my friends.
Let me give you what I owe you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, friend. I do appreciate it. Would you like the tour of the establishment?
Oh, for sure. I would love
Oh, I
to
would
actually
love.
Are you two at the moment housed? Or are you more stray, as one may say?
Are we the first host so far?
No. Are you housed? Are you, do you have a home within the city?
Oh,
Well, that is a good question, Uncle. Do we have a house?
well, not we don't own a house so far, but we do have a little, a little chamber in a hotel not too far.
I see. We do also have rooms for rent, if you'd like to.
Really?
Well, indeed.
Please now.
Mr. Quinn, I'll stay here for now.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Oh, sorry, Miss Lee.
Just this way. So we are the tallest building in Saint Denis.
It's beautiful.
And it is for a good reason.
Very much
You know for
so.
what reason?
Wow.
Because the journal should always be what you look for when you go to Saint Denis.
That is insane,
Exactly.
guys. What the fuck? I'm so excited.
This building is
I'm
owned by
like-
the family of my late wife.
I'm so
which I
excited to
thank
discover all
married
the
to
place in
there
Saint
to the
Denis.
company.
I'm kicking,
But
you
the
know.
building's not in my
I'm
name.
so happy.
First, we have the restaurant.
Oh.
A small kitchen,
Oh, isn't that lovely?
as well as, pardon me.
Oh, you have little dumplings.
Indeed we do. Feel free to sample one, should you so desire. They're fresh.
All right. Don't mind if I do.
What you doing, Uncle?
He's just taking his time.
Oh.
There you go.
I'm actually enjoying it. It's very
Oh
good.
yes, you are really making this place as your home. I see. You are very comfortable here.
You're more than welcome.
No, but we actually told me that I could take a sample. So
Where are your manners, Uncle?
Worry not. Right from
Where is
here,
the
the
etiquette?
restaurant itself.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
I
so
would see
cute.
myself. I would see myself. I don't know. Like people eating and somebody just in the center actually performing something.
Exactly.
Who do you think you are, the king?
Including, of course, a wonderful balcony with quite a view.
No, I was saying like for an event, something like this, because it kind of works like as a restaurant. So
Indeed, we're hoping to serve as a event space for the folk.
It's beautiful.
splendid.
That is our first
Sorry,
floor.
Saint-Denis has something at night. I cannot tell. It's so pretty and poetic, It's very poetic.
Some kind of
It's all in the
miasma
name.
almost. It's quite wonderful. And then
It's
this
all in the
corner,
name.
this writing nook, a waiting area.
By the way, Mr. Queen, are you a native of?
Oh
this
my
place,
god,
or
Grindel,
have you been,
19 months in a row. That's insane.
Did you come
Mm.
from
Love
somewhere
you.
else?
Thank you so much
Oh,
for
well,
the sub
I
again.
moved here some 30 odd years ago. From,
Hope you're doing
Seven-
good. Hope you're doing great.
writer's room.
Happy Saturday. Are we Saturday or Sunday? I think you are
and
Saturday.
My office when I'm at work.
Beautiful.
Yes, it's comfortable.
You have a little portrait. Who that is?
Oh, you had
Oh,
the last
that's,
week off? Did you?
Well,
You went anywhere?
There's a long history within the Quinn family of, well, portraiture. This is, I believe, the great uncle.
Oh, he looks like Napoleon. Huh?
Absolutely not. No. No, Napoleon. He was wearing blue and red, and also more than this, he didn't have gray hair.
Oops, sorry, I need fresh air. Sorry. I mean,
Worry
the
not,
hair is
just-
not that fresh, but
Fresh enough.
yeah.
We're in the industrial force after all.
Pardon my niece. She didn't. She didn't even was alive when the last Napoleon was on the throne in
No,
France.
I was not.
Right. No worries. It is
Is she working?
quite a lived history.
Oh, isn't that cute? She's working. What the shit? This is so cute.
You follow me. Oh, pardon me, Marcel. Right here.
Brother! Grindel!
In here we have a few rooms.
I love discovering this new server. Like, I'm super excited right now.
Inside. There you go.
Yeah, I saw the picture. It's just amazing where you
the
live.
room might be a bit hyper.
How is it to live my dream?
Just to say.
Are you sure it's a room? It's more
That
of
is a
of a saloon.
Right.
It is beautiful.
Thank you. Given its own personal kitchen, and I do believe above something quite similar. My bedroom to the right here.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Follow me upstairs if you would again. We have a lot of rooms I can show you.
Oh.
And
Well, at least your employee gets to enjoy, to be in a nice place to stay.
exactly. This is one of my employees' rooms as well. You can come inside though.
Sure.
Alright.
Is it close?
It is.
Oh, apologies. That may be my bad then.
Wait, we can actually
Never mind.
rent?
Disregard that.
Are you inside? Oh, he's
Oh.
outside.
There you go. Apologies.
So we can rent the room here.
Indeed. Some are already taken, but yes, we go further up. Down this hall
Well.
should be a few free ones.
I guess, Uncle, we can rent a room.
Sure. Well, I mean, if it's not too expensive, we can.
Anything here.
Oh,
Well, I
We
guess
do
it is-
also. I
isn't that
believe, have
lovely?
one with
Oh, it is.
2 beds.
What? What? Look at the view. Is it for real? No way. What the fuck? That view, you're right, Grinda? Oh my god.
You do.
I'm so excited. I want this
Make sure
room.
that it was all this fancy.
I think I visited enough. I think I want to rent this room.
Which one?
This
Oh.
room.
Have you seen this one though?
Is it a room?
It is a bigger one.
All of these are rooms, yes.
Can we rent both room?
You're more than welcome. Pick one each.
Well, Uncle, which room do you want?
This one because I need to write.
I also need, I see good. You can keep this one. I have the pink one.
And if
Suits
you'll
you well.
follow me,
No way!
right
What?
here we have the communal kitchen.
Oh wow!
Sink and all.
Ooh.
And then
I
if
didn't
you...
have this thing.
Indeed. Then if you'll
It's
exit
very
again-
modern.
Yeah, it's newly renovated. Right this way we have the lavatory. Should you need the facilities, of course.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, very nice. What the fuck? What the actual fuck?
Then right this way as well.
Oh, this is occupied.
I'm just gonna make sure. Another room here. And
That's crazy.
apologies.
I'm so in shock.
There we go.
It's so pretty.
Just so you are aware.
The bed is small.
It is, yes.
Well, do you need a double bed?
Well, you know, when I sleep, I move a lot.
You want
So
to
I
be able to
prefer-
spread your wings.
Exactly.
I'm
So,
used in.
what is the rent per week?
I believe it's $7. Apologies. It's again, my family owns the building. I am not the one in possession of the.
Oh, I see. So
itself.
I don't give you the money.
No, if you just leave it in the little box by the door,
Fair
landlord
enough,
will
yes.
come and collect it.
Oh, you can see
And
the
of course the
face that
room
I'm making right
On
now.
the roof. With great
I'm
view of the
so.
city, like we
See,
don't dream of.
I have been in Africa, in Northern Africa, actually, in the.
I'm so in shock.
And you know what they do in Morocco? Once you
Please
have
tell.
when you have you had some. Pay attention! Don't
yes,
go too far.
you may want to watch out. It's quite unguarded,
Exactly.
this area, unfortunately.
Yeah, you don't want to make a leap of faith. That's for sure.
It's
So what they
pretty.
do, and please don't fun. What they do in husband and wife had some good time. The husband goes on the roof, because like they can actually, with a ladder, they can actually go on the roof.
Right.
Guys! Wow! I like. I'm so in shock. It's so pretty how they managed to do that.
And what happens is that after they had some good time, the husband goes on the roof, and then after that, the wives
Wayward,
come,
I don't know.
and they exchange some kisses.
Blackwater
before the
looks
wife
like Wayward
gets
a bit,
into
but
her room,
I don't
to her-
watch
to her
Wayward.
bed, sleeps,
I don't
while
know
the man
how
is,
it looks like, but
looking at the sky,
I
maybe
guess it's the
smoking
same
some good
asset
cigarette, or
in
maybe
some way.
the hookah, as you
Because it's
Right, yes, the
kind of
water
looks like
pipes.
this. I think it's a free,
exactly.
asset. Whoa! Why am I so blue?
Shisha in
Why is it so blue?
I believe over in Blackwater they have one of them.
oh, interesting.
Indeed. But yes, the roof.
Have you
we
seen the
intend to
blimp?
perhaps in
What is
future have a,
blimp, Clinton?
hot air balloon rise.
What is that?
Oh, that would be a wonderful idea. Is it the reason why you actually have a balloon here?
Yes, well, we do have the balloon here. We just need the right fuels for it.
This balloon crashed?
No, this is just strapped it down.
Uh,
That's the way it should be.
I guess they didn't have any places down there, so they put it on the roof.
I didn't even knew that there is a air balloon
We,
here.
have a
That's
lot of
crazy.
series of it as well.
At least, if you
Oh,
allow me, but
Please
This
go
is a-
ahead. Do be careful though.
this is
this
quite a
is beautiful view that
view.
you have.
Indeed.
Guys,
And you actually have a view on the flag. Out there you have the cathedral, which is actually the tallest building. That's the building, but this one is the
there is a
second one.
rainbow. There is a double rainbow.
Indeed.
Isn't that perfect? I think it's perfect.
Yeah, this
And
is
the
Now, in a
moon
lot of
behind.
countries, the
Guys, this is so pretty. I'm very, very excited.
in very modern, cities now. It's not much of the case, but I grew up in a small town, outside of Paris, so of course I know what it is.
Oui, monsieur. I understand. All right. So as you decide, just leave the money in the box and, maybe enjoy that bed really nicely. Just lay down in a bit.
For sure.
Sure. Is
Wanna
there a
shoot off it.
safe inside?
I am unsure of safes. It may depend on the room. However, there's at least a closet should you wish to change.
Alright, that will do.
By the way, Mr. Quinn, I have actually a cousin that also, is around in Saint Denis and was actually looking for a job, maybe.
I think it was this room. Oh, right, it was not this room. Oh, oh my god! I love it. I love it. Oh, there is people. There is also people at La Bastille. It's like a balloon ship that automatically runs for its building to Blackwater. Oh,
Alright.
I don't know if there is
Right.
that in game.
I suggest you rent your room.
I don't think so. I've seen nothing like that.
That's all. Just leave it in the box inside.
Sure.
Oh, it's $3 per day.
Yes, it is.
$3
my
per day.
apologies.
Per day.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's quite steep.
Well,
Oh.
Uncle, I don't have the money, obviously.
All right.
May
What
I-
will happen?
May I have
As
$2 from you?
As a sign of good faith, how about this?
Hmm?
Right here. Take that, spread it amongst yourselves as you desire, and feel free
What?
to stick around.
Wait, what?
Down on the floor, the bag there. I'll have to excuse myself. I have some business I attend to, but we'll be downstairs
sure.
otherwise. Thank
Always
you
a
both for your
pleasure.
patronage.
Thanks again,
Lovely
Mr.
meeting you.
Quid.
Au revoir.
We'll see you again.
Indeed.
Wait, did you took anything? Because I'm very confused.
Yes, I did. He gave us $15.
May I have the dollar?
Of course.
15?
15.
Oh, that
I-
is very generous.
Je propose.
Oh, pouvez-vous le dire en anglais, s'il vous plaît?
I propose that we use it less as possible so that we keep as much money as possible. How about
Yes, but well, I mean, I need to spend money, you know.
I know. Take this.
He doesn't want.
Yeah. No, I dropped it.
But if you drop it, I cannot take it. Wait. Yep.
I give you the money directly. Here, it should be 2 days.
No, give me the half.
Well, I'll just give you $1 more.
He wants to keep the money.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because 15 we can already, divide it in two.
All right. I don't know if I can close door. Can you? Is it still available?
Yes. Still
Is-
available.
I'm sure I rent it.
Don't worry.
I'll spend the money. I gave the money.
It's your place now. Don't worry.
You sure? Okay.
All right.
What did it say? Sorry.
Let's go around and maybe find some new people to actually tell them to vote for me.
Sure. But I needed to check my telegram in the telegram station.
I will put this.
Oh, I'm so happy. Also, we are waiting for new horse. Yesterday I played a bit. I played like maybe 5-6 hours with friends to learn about the game and everything. And I've ordered a new horse, and we are waiting for the new horse right now. Oh wait, how many stairs here? There is a lot of stairs. I'm a bit lost, Uncle.
Well, I'm not much used of big buildings, but I quite
So-
like it actually. It was good.
No, it's a good place. Oh, goodbye, and thank you again for the money.
No worries at all. More than happy to have you. Feel free to stop by anytime.
Sure.
Have a lovely day.
Yeah. It's so tall. Can you even imagine, like, in every single establishment, there is a place that you go inside? Look. Crazy, right? What is that, uncle? Guys, like, every establishment here, you can actually go inside.
Around in people's places.
No. I think
Imagine.
it's a shop. Yes. That's it.
This Dinosaur skull.
Dinosaur. Looks like you.
And there is also African masks. I see
C'est
quite some when I was in Africa.
Yes. I've ordered this new horse. I think the horse is ready. I don't remember. I don't even know. I think she said a thoroughbred.
Well, I mean, for $15, it is surely,
Wait
a fair price.
until you see the underground places. I saw some, and it's insane.
25.
Non mais ça va?
Hello, how are you doing today?
Hello.
I mean, fine. How
Good,
about
and you, miss?
Doing nothing, but not too bad. I wanted to see if I could interest you in something. Perhaps something you might enjoy.
Sure.
Sure. What
I
is
am
it?
selling the finest perfume and cologne if you're interested. I'm selling it for $25.
Oh, wow.
No, sorry. I'm not interested. Not that I don't have the money, but I don't have it on me. I have it in the bank.
Oh, well, it's okay. I don't mind taking a little walk to the bank. Nothing
It's
like
okay.
a little exercise.
I'm waited. Everybody, someone is waiting for me. I'm
Somebody
expected.
waiting for you.
Indeed.
Well, it
You
was
seem
a
like a
pleasure to
very
meet you.
important lady
What is your
with
name
the way you're
again?
dressed.
What is your
Excuse me,
name?
what is your name again?
My name is Mira Butera. Nice to meet you.
Mira.
Mhm.
Butara.
Butella.
Butala.
Ah, Mira Butala. All right.
Nice to meet you.
Meet you. Well, it
Pleasure,
seems
well-
like you're a very busy lady.
Oh, I am indeed. Very
Unfortunately.
much. Exactly. Well, it was
So
a
what does a
pleasure,
lady like you
miss.
do around here for work?
I don't work.
All right,
Yeah.
well, that must be quite the enjoyable life.
I just enjoy life, correct? I actually need to check my telegram, but it was a pleasure, Miss
It was nice to meet you.
Burrata.
Yeah. Butella.
Butella.
Yes.
Goodbyes.
I must be on my way.
The fact that she actually doesn't work. Yet, though.
You could also say that you don't have the money. It's all right.
No, I can't say that, Uncle. I can't.
For
Oh,
what reason?
I can roam to send with your
Where
horse.
is my
We can meet at the stable here.
Oh.
I'm in the stable here and said if you like to meet, I've got your horse. Oh, we can go to the stable, Uncle. The horse is in the stable, apparently.
Oh, hello there again. Pardon me.
Hello.
there. Oh, wow.
Ça va ou quoi, Serda et Normeus? that's the first. No. I think we're gonna have a female. Ça va, merci. You're right. You're right, oh, all right.
No, I was just like looking a little bit around. You know, it's a pretty dusty place, but at the same time, I look. Well, it has a little charm. That's for sure.
I agree.
Hello there.
Oh, it's Mr. Swordman.
Yes, it is. How you
We
doing?
were talking about him the other day, weren't you, Huey?
We were.
How are you
You were
guys doing?
supposed to give us.
I remember him.
News?
Oh,
What's the news?
Did you bring us the news then, Swordsman?
The news.
This guy yesterday
were told
seems
you were
very
supposed to bring us the news.
suspicious.
Meet the swordsman in Saint Denis, get the news. That's what the letter said.
Did it?
Are you playing Is it because the missus is here? Should we have not...
Oh no, it's all good. It's my nieces.
Should we have waited until she was not here?
You said that's your niece?
And that's my niece.
Me, yes.
Are you guys rich?
Oh, we look rich, but we are not. We are broke.
Let me tell you something.
Oh, we
Cousin
just
here is single. He's a great man. I once seen him
Cousin, they said
take
they...
out
Cousin,
a
they said they
grizzly
dress rich.
bear.
They're not rich themselves.
Didn't she just
Well-
say she's rich?
She said they dress rich. They're not rich themselves. Cousin.
Oh, he's
Listen,
taken.
Swordsman. Should we speak in private then?
Yes, you can speak in private. I'm expected. I have a very important meeting.
Oh, you
Bonjour.
see. Bonjour now, milady.
Sorry?
Oh,
They
he
said
said,
buongiorno.
Hi, bonjour now. Hey, woo.
Oui.
Au revoir.
Exactly, you got it.
Au revoir.
Viva la
Au revoir indeed.
revolution.
Sure.
What did that man say? He said, Viva la rivoluzione as well. Whatever the fuck that means.
I guess.
exactly.
I guess.
Oi, well, swordsman, we should speak, oi.
Alright,
Come into my office.
to your office. This is your office?
What is he doing? What is he doing? What?
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Uncle.
Yes.
Uncle.
Encore?
I'm-
She's asking for you to continue on.
No, I said, Uncle, I'm expected. You remember?
Oh yeah. Well, can we talk for another time? Because we are expected it's going to be. Well,
We came all the way from Armadillo, swordsman, at the word of the man.
I
He
don't
said,
want to
"Get
leave
here,
him
speak
alone,
with the
though.
Swordsman, he'll give you the news. And now you're being pulled off by the niece. Is she the one we should be speaking to then?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And who the fuck are we supposed to be speaking to besides ye, swordsman?
Are you sure you're talking about the same swordsman? Anyway.
You're telling me there's multiple people in this fucking
we ran
city
into you
with swords?
yesterday in Blackwater. You said, this ain't a sword, it's a saber. We said,
Yes, it is.
all right, well, you're going to bring us a saber tomorrow. Where's
No, I
the
didn't say that.
saber at?
It's not the saber. I said that I was
Did you say
going
that?
to give you a nice bottle of wine. How about that?
Oh, that is true. The wine. That all right.
The wine, not the saber.
I was mistaken.
Yes,
Where's
you
the
was.
wine?
Oh, and cousin, do not get your knickers in a twist, oi. Tell me, swordsman. Let's start off on the right foot then, oi. You said you were going to offer me cousin some wine. Why don't we not pour a glass and have a conversation, oi?
I mean, because she's not my establishment. I don't know where I can actually. We can actually do this. I was actually expecting maybe to have this in a nice little saloon, maybe.
I see.
Are
Perhaps,
you thirsty?
I'm quite thirsty, indeed, my lady. Quite parched from me travels from the west. You see, I walk it here, all the way from Armadillo.
Oh,
I walk it
I
here.
bet it's a long travel to come here. And you know, my uncle, he said that he will give you a wine.
That's right.
He said that.
He said at least 20 years aged.
Oh, I mean, it's a lot.
Well, exactly. Well, you know what? What I was thinking about. I'm going to give you something that I have on a flask. In a flask, it is something that that came with me from France. It is not wine, but it is something better. Maybe you will like it more. You guys like whiskey.
I have something also very better. I have a holy water that you can actually drink. A priest gave me the water today. Thank you for the follow.
This all might burn up from the inside if I drink that.
I ain't trying to combust into a huge ball of flames. Me and the Lord ain't exactly on good terms.
Oh, we got the devil in our bloodstream, lady. You understand?
No, fair enough.
Listen, swordsman, perhaps you have another meeting to attend to, but we still need to speak about the news, aye? What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you send a letter, a telegraph to me cousin here. Whenever you're free, you telegraph me cousin, and he'll come running, aye?
Cousin.
We expect to hear the news.
Also, let me just say, let me tell you something. You two, it's a dangerous world out there.
Very much.
I know you got a sword. The question is, you got a shield. Me and my cousin here could be your shield.
Well,
as long as you pay money.
Because they have more to attend to now. Let them
I know
into their business.
Mon chéri.
Oi, au revoir.
Au revoir.
Yeah, swordsman, we'll see you soon.
Sure. Uncle.
Lovely couple.
Des bandits.
What's going on?
Ils ont juste essayé de pas chier. Des traiteurs.
Donc c'est les personnes qu'on avait vues hier à la station de télégramme, n'est-ce pas? Et c'est la personne avec la main qui était brûlée et il te regardait bizarrement hier, il me semble. C'est bien lui, n'est-ce pas?
Je pense bien. Attends, donne-moi 2 secondes. Il faut bien que j'écrive ça dans mon...
Dans ton journal. Tu as un journal?
Exactement.
C'est parfait. Note leur nom et leur description. Je pense qu'on pourra se rappeler d'eux quand tu seras élu maire de Saint-Denis. I need to go back to the stable door.
Please don't.
But I need you. We didn't get robbed. I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay.
Just stay here. I will run.
Wait, where are you? Don't leave me like that, Uncle. I cannot run with this dress. Like literally, I can't run. What if they are coming back? Where is he going? I hope the girl is still in the stable door. Like, she's waiting for an hour, at least. Uncle! Don't leave me! And it just left? Just like that? I swear, it just left. He said, He said, "Go, go. I need to go somewhere." Oh my god, I hope she's still inside. Hello? Hello? Oh no, I think she left. Ew! Vomit in buckets? Who left that? Vomit in buckets. Fuck, I needed to go back to the telegram station. Shit. Miss, are you inside? Oh, okay, it's closed. Never mind. This is closed. So, what is happening here? That we have this brand new character, Apolline de Villeneuve, and she arrived here some months ago, approximately like 4 or 5 months ago with her uncle. They came here in Saint-Denis. So they are not that new, you know. But her cousin, he came recently, like yesterday is new, and we are 3 of the family here, but we may have 2 other players who might join us, maybe. And right now, her uncle, he wants to maybe be a mayor or maybe be an important figure of Saint-Denis, and he wants to put his name into election. I don't know if there is actually an election in this game, in this server, but he wants to runs the election and everything. So that is a very, to me, it's a very difficult roleplay. Does Apolline know what she wants to do yet? No. So she will assist him to the election. She will assist him in the politics. She will not. She will be behind him, like his shadow, you know. She will be behind and help him. But that is the main. Oh, I think he's back. I think it's him. But that is the main idea. Okay, never mind. If it does not work, we might open a business. We thought about this. I don't know which business yet, but I would love to have something inside. Guys, I want to show you La Bastille, because La Bastille here is just insane. I saw that yesterday. But I think some characters wants already to run this place, so I think it's already taken. And also there is a bakery, but the bakery might also be taken by another player. So for now, it's politics. It's completely politics. It's paperwork for me, so it's very difficult. But I guess it's also a good way to improve my writing English. Are you still around Saint-Denis? Chance? I hope she's still around. Ah, and I want to show you everything about this server. I want to show you every single place. I want to discover every single place of this this server, but there is so many things. So many buildings, so many secrets. And I'm so excited to discover them. You know, it reminds me Eleanor at her beginning in Wild, in the Sand Crossing. It reminds me that when she arrived in Saint Denis. Is that? Who is that? Where is the uncle? Where did he live? I think he just don't realize that Apolline is without horses. She doesn't have any choice but walk. Oh, and also, as you may know, she doesn't have any money, so it's you know, that means that she needs to work, but like maybe farm a bit. I don't know how to earn money in this game, in this server. I really don't know how to earn money. Like, I know a priest told us yesterday that they sells gold or is that the name? So there is apparently a few ways to make money. I've heard mining and selling ores. Ore? Sorry, I don't know if I say it well. Okay, $4. But at least there is something positive, is that we all start in the same way. All the players here are all news. Everything is new. Hello. Everything is new. We are all new. We have the same amount of money, so that gives us a bit of time to earn money in this game. I'm not sure what her uncle is doing right now. Oh, that's him. It's his horse, I guess. Uncle! Oh, sorry.
Oh, pardon us, ma'am.
No worries. Oh, fuck. Wait. Where are you? Oh, that's, wait. How did... That's the uncle? Oh, wait, Armand is the uncle? Brother, I'm so lost. I think her cousins just sent a telegram. I think it's the cousin, not the uncle. I'm a bit lost. He might be around.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Can we bother you for just a moment?
Sure.
I'll introduce ourselves. My name is Sheriff Broussard of Van Horn, and this is my Undersheriff Brooks.
Virgil Brooks. Nice to meet you. I'm Apolline de Villeneuve.
Apolline.
Indeed.
It is our pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine. So how can I help you?
Well, what do you do here in Saint Denis, if you don't mind me asking?
What I'm doing here, just, walking.
Do you have a profession? Do you work here? Do you live here in Saint Denis?
I just rent a room in the newspaper building, I guess. I'm not sure. But I don't have an official job. Why is that?
Oh, well, we're just trying to get the lay of the land. You see, we're visiting today.
No, I
Yes,
live here. Hello, cousine. No, I live here.
Great. Well, we have experienced a little bit of Saint Denis so far. We've seen the Bastille, we heard gunshots, and we met the police. And now we found our way down here to the telegram station, and we're just trying to, understand the people of the city.
Sorry, I'm a bit confused. Are you a police officer, a sheriff, a marshal?
Yes, ma'am. I introduced myself as Sheriff Broussard of Van Horn.
Oh.
They introduced me as Undersheriff Virgil Brooks.
Van Horn. I've never went to there. I'm not sure where is that. And you are visiting Saint Denis?
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome here, I guess. And on my right, this is my cousin, Armand.
Nice to meet you, sir.
You're a well-dressed man.
Oh, thank you. Well, I love your style as well.
Yes. You look like a main character in a book.
Well, thank you. We all look like this in Van Horn.
Oh, really now?
Brooks here is also dressed very well.
He looks decent. I like your what is
Excuse me for a moment.
the red. Is it a scarf? Is that the name in English?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's very, very nice.
Thank you.
Oh, we appreciate your compliments.
And
Leonuccio, you are dressed mighty fine.
oh, thank you. I think green is my color.
I would agree.
And you had a shooting earlier in Saint Denis, right? Do you know who did that?
I believe it was a man by the name of John Carver.
Oh, I don't know this person. Was he shooting alone?
Somewhat short, overweight man.
All right. Well, I don't know him.
Is this about the man who robbed a lot of people in Saint Denis yesterday? A Mexican man?
Oh, no, he's not Mexican. Mr. Carver is American.
No, because we have heard about something very horrific here in Saint Denis. Apparently, there is someone who roams around the graveyard and the morgue, and is a what was the name again? Armand. What was his name
I
again?
don't know.
A slasher? Something like that?
The slasher.
The slasher. I'm not sure what does that mean though.
Ooh, you're talking about the Saint Denis slasher.
Correct.
We have heard of him.
Yes. I don't know if it's true.
Oh, the Saint Denis slasher. Oh, he's very much real, man.
So, I guess he's dangerous.
Oh, I don't know the man you speak of. I do not know him to frequent the morgue or the likes of that, but the slasher, is real.
Really?
He's been on the run for quite a while now.
May I ask, What is the little star you have on your vest?
I'm a sheriff, sir.
Sheriff.
Oh, so the stars mean sheriff?
Did you get a boat to this country recently?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that explains it, bro. Yes, we run our sheriff's department of Van Horn. We are lawmen of Van Horn. We protect and serve the constituents of our town, Van Horn.
Oh.
Van Horn is just up north. You get on the road down, take a horseback, get there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Depends how you ride.
North along the Lenahatchee River.
Is it a beautiful place with pavements, or it's muddy and...
Well, the horses trek through the road in town. However, we have plenty of pathways that are boarded, so you keep yourselves out of the dirt.
Oh, I would love to visit this place, actually. I was wondering, do you know if there is a mayor in Van Horn?
There currently is not a mayor of Van Horn, no.
But so, if I'm not wrong, and please correct me, if there is a mayor in Saint-Denis, is he the mayor of Van Horn as well? Or is it different?
No, absolutely not.
God, no. No, Saint-Denis, well, you have the deceitful, lying chief of police, and you more than likely will see the governor. Maybe. I've never seen him personally. However,
oh, there is a
I
governor.
believe they may be voting for a mayor soon. Do not quote me on that. Now, soon could be a few months. Soon could be tomorrow. I don't frequent this place too often. I hear about it through the telegram. Okay. Now, I do know the police chief, unfortunately. I've met him before. However, that is law department stuff. Has nothing to do with the politics here. Now, no, the mayor of Van Horn would be responsible for the people of Van Horn, similar to Annesburg, Valentine, Rhodes, wherever the fuck else has a mayor.
Okay. And the governor is the governor for all the cities here in this county, I guess.
Well, currently it would be the state of Lemoyne. There is also the state of New Hanover, the state of West Elizabeth, and the state of New Austin. Those are the sort of nearest states you're going to travel to. Also Amberino, but unless you want to interview bears and elk and whatever the fuck else you can find in the mountains, then you be my guest. There ain't much civilization up there.
So, if I understand well, there is 5 governors in this country? 5 different governors?
Not currently, no. Not currently.
Oh, right, I see. No, I was wondering because I guess you have not met my uncle yet, but he wants to I mean, he wants to be the mayor here in Saint-Denis, so that would be nice if he can meet the governor.
Oh, well, if he would like to be the mayor of Saint-Denis, good luck to him.
Oh. Why is that?
Oh, I don't want to put you folks off of the city. It is a lovely place if you can look past the feces in the street and the gunfighting. Saint-Denis is full of lies and deceitful people, greedy people. If you'd like to be the mayor here, well, I hope that 1, he gets it, and 2, he's able to change this city. But it'll take a lot of work.
Well, I don't know if he really wants to change the city.
I personally don't really care about American politics, but it seems so complicated.
Well, welcome to the free world, sir.
A free world, yes.
Oops.
As they call it. Doesn't feel very fucking free.
I feel free sometimes.
I'm glad you do. I have to wear a badge and fucking serve people.
I love your umbrella.
Thank you. It's a parasol.
A parasol, sorry.
Oh, I have mine.
All right. It was a pleasure to meet you, and we may soon visit Van Horn then.
quickly, before we go, before you go, you mentioned the newspaper.
I have one on me.
Yes, I have one and so.
And you got those from?
Some paper boys who sell them in the street. I don't know. But there is the newspaper here in Saint-Denis if you want to see. The owner is inside.
Oh, well, maybe we'll stop by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should. Also, La Bastille might be open.
Yeah, we stopped by the Bastille. Not a drop of liquor. So, no thank you.
Yeah, it's not right now, apparently, but soon, I hope.
I hope so too.
Well, I will leave you to it. I'm expected, but it was very nice to meet you, gentlemen.
Likewise, folks. Take care now, and welcome to America.
Thank you. Welcome in
I
Saint-Denis.
appreciate it.
Van Horn will always be honored to have you there too.
I keep that
Lovely.
in mind. How are you, Apolline?
I'm doing great, and you? How are you,
I'm doing
Armand?
great.
You seem
So-
wonderful today.
When they have stars on their vest, it means they're like the police.
Well, I guess the star means that they are important in the security department. I don't know.
Why they don't say police?
They are not the police. I guess the police is only for Saint-Denis.
Oh. Okay. alright.
They're cute.
Okay, I have 4 sisters.
Good day.
So... Hello there.
Hello.
Alright, let me get in there and get to my telegram.
What are you doing today?
I needed to go back to the stable. Wait, I think
To get your horse?
that was the lady who sells me the horse. That was her, right?
No, I'm not sure.
You don't think so?
No,
I need
it costs
to
nothing
remember.
to check.
I just need to check her name again. Grindel.
Mademoiselle.
Me!
Are you the lady who
Lainey
are
Brooks.
selling houses?
Oh, me?
Are you Lainey
Ah,
Brooks? No, you are not? Sorry.
Oh, my apologies then.
It's okay. You're gonna have to help me out how to spell your name.
The lady's name is Lainey Brooks, and she might be in the stable here in Saint-Denis.
Did you write her a telegram?
Yes, I did. Oh, cousin, I'm also starving. I needed to eat food.
Yes, a salad.
All
Some
right.
avocado. Do they have avocados in America?
I think it's in the South America. South America. Also, Uncle was here earlier. I don't know where he went. He left me exactly here. He said, "Oh, I'll be back. Stay here," and he left.
Where is he? You don't know?
I don't know. I don't even have his telegram number.
You don't have his telegram number?
No, I do not. Do you have his?
No, I'm so bad with telegrams, and I don't have any memory.
Well, that's why there is the telegram. Oh, sorry. Is that you, Lainey Brooks, Miss Brooks?
Yes, it sure is.
Perfect. And I'm so sorry. I'm, a lot of people. I talk a lot.
No, you're fine. If you want to come with me back to the stable, we can
Please.
get everything settled.
Yes. I join you.
Maybe you can hop on the horse,
But
because I'm slow.
it's okay. I will walk.
How are you today, madam?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How is the house business doing? You're going. Sorry.
Yeah, this horse is great. Very pretty.
Oh, this is the one.
This is the one.
Beautiful.
I'm so happy. Thoroughbred. Thoroughbred. Is that the breed?
Yes, they're bred. Very
Thoroughbred.
fast horses. They're race horses. I don't have this one trained, but when you get a little more, money in your pockets, feel free to come by. I can train her for you.
What is the price for training?
It's $10.
Yeah, I don't have the money. Well, is it quick? Is the training quick?
It can take a bit. I also have quite a few horses I'm working on at the moment, so might be a little longer right now.
Strong legs? Does the horse have strong legs?
Oh yeah, yeah. She's got
Oh,
muscles for
perfect.
days too.
Is she easily spooked?
Thoroughbreds are a little bit. Once you ride her around a bit, start gaining her trust, she'll be a little less spooky.
Wonderful. Oh, wait, she had a saddle? A saddle she had? Vomit.
Alright, let me just get the paperwork in order.
I don't have
it'll be
the money on me, but we can go to the bank if you want.
Yeah, we can do that. I have no idea where the bank is, so lead the way.
This way. I'm not sure. I don't know Saint-Denis very well either. Where do you live if you don't live at Saint-Denis?
Dewberry. I have a little homestead there.
Yes, you said Dewberry. What is Dewberry?
It is. Do you know where Emerald Ranch is?
Yes.
It's over the hill, just right over the hill from there, so pretty close.
Dewberry is behind the Emerald Ranch.
Yes, yep. Just right over the border in Lemoyne.
Okay. So that means that your horse training is there?
Yes, yep, we do all of our training there. We have a training paddock. I have 3 others that are working for me so far.
Oh, I would love to visit that.
Yeah, feel free to come by anytime.
Yes. Now I will have my own horse. And is the saddle with the price?
It is not.
Oh.
It costs a couple dollars to get a saddle. So I would recommend just saving up a little bit. It's not entirely necessary to ride the horse.
Okay, so I don't need a saddle.
You don't know. I'd recommend getting one eventually, but while you're still trying to figure things out, it should be fine without one.
And I was wondering, not for me, obviously, I don't need money, I have a lot of money. But do you know how to make money here?
Does what? I'm sorry?
Do you know how to make money here? Like, what is a way to make money here?
Well, honestly, I've only tried selling horses, but after talking to a few others, I've heard some have had luck, a little bit of luck with mining, gold panning, and hunting.
So, hunting and what is the other?
Mining and gold panning.
Gold panning. Oh, I see.
Not sure how profitable any of it is, but that's what a lot of others have said they've been doing.
At least it's a bit of money.
Man, that is one fancy bank.
It's beautiful. Saint-Denis is so pretty.
I'm not used to the city, but it does a certain charm to it.
So you said 15, right?
Yes, 15.
Oh my god.
Y'all have a nice day.
You too.
You too, sir. Oh my god.
Perfect. All right. We can head back to the stable.
Sure.
Don't exactly know my way back, so I'm just gonna
No
follow
worries,
you
just follow me. You'll be okay.
I am not a city girl. If you haven't noticed.
Well, I guess you are perfect the way you are. Is enough.
Yeah.
I'm starving.
Oh no. I have a couple apples on me.
May I have one? Is it the apple for the horses?
No, I actually got a little hungry earlier and needed
All
one,
right.
so.
May I have one? Thank you.
You have no problem.
Ah, I feel better. The apple for the horse. Oh, well, I think I will keep this beautiful apple in my hand. It's pretty. Okay, it's this way. Yummy horse apple. And it's stuck. It's fucking stuck in the hand. I don't remember
You have to
the slash.
keep taking a few bites of it.
I wish. Can I eat? Oh, wait. Oh, that was close. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm doing it well. Why is she keeping the apple? Is she eating? Is she even eating the apple? Bite? B? Delicious. Am I biting it? What am I doing?
I think I passed you a couple, so you'll have one either, if you get hungry again or for your horse.
Oh, I see. Wait, what the fuck? I don't know how it works. I don't know. It just sucks. I don't remember the slash to take this off. And what would be... So what is your horse name?
Her name is Jolie, but you can, if you talk to the stable master, he can manage the paperwork. Jolie, yep.
How do you write that?
Jolie.
I-E?
Yes.
But I think I will keep the same name, but in French.
Sure, yeah.
Jolie. I think it's pretty. Oh, wait, jolie means pretty in French, actually. That's funny. Jolie. Jolie. Jelly. This fucking apple.
All right, let me just get the paperwork squared away here.
Oh, look what I found. Look what I found. Wait. Fuck. There you go.
All right, then you should be able to talk to this fella and he can get her out of the stall for you.
She's so pretty.
She is beautiful. I think I might have to get myself one that looks like that.
I love her.
I'm glad. Well, you enjoy. Hopefully, you know, she keeps you safe on your travels.
Oh. Here, Jolie.
How did you call it?
I didn't call her. It was her name. Her name is Jolie.
Jolie.
Isn't she pretty? Oh,
Yes.
she's spooked.
She's gonna kick you.
Yes.
Here. Horse. Pretty horse.
Howdy.
Hello.
Hello there again.
Hello
It's a
again.
lovely horse.
Can I pet your horse? Oh, she's spooked. She's so spooked. So I will move my horse.
She'll probably calm down once you take her out of the stall or the stable. Enjoy.
Thank you, Miss Brooks.
Thank you again. Thank you. I will send you a telegram to train my horse later.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Goodbyes.
Bye.
Hey, Astro! Look who's
Yeah,
also in Rosalita. Do you play here?
Do you have a saddle?
I do not, but the lady said that it's pretty expensive and I don't need a saddle right now.
I mean, Apolline, you're losing your manners.
She said it's expensive. I mean, cousin, if you want to pay for the saddle, please do, but I don't have the money on the bank.
Oh, Lord.
We need to find a way to make money here.
We need
well-
a way to find money. Yeah, I'm starting to running out of the money Father gave me,
Same. So I thought about something, but it might not be a good idea. You know that uncle, he wants to be the mayor here. So maybe we can ask to the civilian some money to help and support the financial, how do you say in English? For the mayor, for uncle be a mayor. You know what I mean? They can support him by giving money.
Like a campaign, finance the campaign.
For the campaign, that's the word, to finance the campaign. They can give him the money, you know.
But do people know him?
He started to talk to the people. And also we went to the police department and we had a talk with some police officer, and they said that they can make an election for the mayor in Saint-Denis. And we talk to the right person.
I see.
And you have heard there is apparently a governor here.
Well, as I said, I'm not really good with politics.
It is okay. We can, on the side, we can run a business if you want. I would love
What
to.
kind of business?
Any kind, really. Maybe a bakery. I need to check in the telegram station if it's there.
All right.
The bakery may have an owner, but maybe there is other business here. How are you doing, Astro? Sorry, I was a bit
A
focusing.
bakery. Do you know how to bake?
No. I'll be the sales person.
Oh, yes. So it means we'll have to be behind the counter, and I don't love to work. I don't want to work.
No,
Father should
but
send me more money.
you know why your father sent you here. It's exactly for doing this, to work. Because he wants
But I
you to be a
don't
man.
want.
No, I know that you don't want, and look at me, I don't want either, but Well, that's why we're here, I guess.
Maybe you can work and give me the money.
Definitely not.
No, I tried.
I don't know where Uncle went. Maybe La Bastille?
No, let's try. But your horse, it's...
Do you want to take the horse? Hop on my horse.
I would not. There is no saddle.
Well, walk then.
Yes, but your horse is not even hitched.
Hitched?
Yeah, attaché. Look at this. Oh my god.
Isn't that a wonderful beast? She is so tall. I can see the world. I can see the curve of the world. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
She's so tall. And I don't know how to hitch the horse. How do you make... how to hitch?
You just take the...
Just wait here, okay, horsey?
The thing and...
Wait.
What do you name... what's the name of the thing? The cord?
Jolie. The cord?
The rein?
The reins.
Les rênes. And you
No, I
hitched
can't.
it here. Oh my god.
Nobody teach me how to hitch a horse. And I needed to buy food. I'm also lucky because I have a canteen in my pocket.
A what?
A canteen. A flask.
No, I see. How did you get it?
Ah, well, someone gave me.
You're so lucky.
I know.
So you want to work at the bakery?
No, I wanted to help my uncle. I wanted to assist him. I wanted to, prepare his appointment and everything.
Oh, yes, I see.
And talk to the people, He's the head and I'm his shadow. I'm behind.
No, I see. Like a secretary.
Sort of. You can also be the secretary. You can help the secretary. You are my secretary.
The secretaries of the secretary.
Correct.
No.
Is there anything that you want to do?
Partying, drinking wine.
We can do that. Oh, is he running? We had some shootings earlier in Saint-Denis.
Some shootings.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, uncle! Wait, no. That is her uncle's horse, no?
I don't know.
That looks like his horse. Hold on. A
No,
gentleman.
that's the Lomans.
Gentleman.
That's the Lomans from earlier.
Yes, I remember them. Oh, sorry to interrupting you again. Is that your horse by any chance? This beautiful beast, is it yours?
Oh, why, yes, ma'am. It is.
Oh, because it's funny because this horse looks like my uncle's horse.
Oh.
Exactly the same, and I was wondering if it was his horse.
Well, your uncle has good taste.
Hmm.
Where is your uncle?
I don't know, I lost him, that's why.
Oh.
So, I hope that it was his horse.
Well, this horse is where we left it, behind the police department.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Thank you.
Where did you lose your uncle?
I lost him close to the telegram station. Maybe 40 minutes ago.
I will give you some advice.
Please do.
The undertakers of Saint-Denis are very, very suspicious people. I would maybe go and check there.
No.
Where is it?
or by the graveyard. If you go down this road, down this road to the very end and turn right, and by the gallows behind it, there is the cemetery, and the Undertaker is facing it.
All right, I will see. Thank you.
I hope you find him.
I hope
what's his
to.
name? Can I, if maybe I see him?
But you have met him earlier, no?
No, I did not meet your uncle.
All right. Well, it's Louis Etienne de Marinville. He's a tall, blonde guy with a deep voice.
Louis.
Correct. Louis Etienne.
Blonde fella. You have that, Brooks? Yeah,
Sorry.
he does.
Wait, go
No,
on.
I'm
Say that one more time now.
talking to my partner. Yeah, a Louis, tall, blonde, and a deep voice. did
Louis,
you say?
tall and blonde.
French with a deep voice.
Oh, French. Well, that should be easy to find.
I should narrow it down.
If we see him, where should we send him to?
To me, Apolline de Villeneuve.
Oh, no, I know his niece will be looking for him. I mean, where location?
What do you mean, where location?
In the telegram station.
Yes, I lost him there.
No, if I find him, where should I send him to?
Oh,
To
well,
meet
you mean the telegram number?
No, the
I'm
location.
very confused.
I think the telegram
Okay,
station
let me
will
go
be
ahead.
Just-
perfect.
Yeah, let me lay it out for you nice and easy here, okay? We find him.
Yes,
Where do you want us to take him?
the telegram station.
I guess the
Okay.
telegram station will do.
Okay.
And
There we
I
go,
forgot
right?
to. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I forgot to ask earlier, when we see people with the star on the coat, how should we address them? Is it like Monsieur le Policier, officer?
Unless they're us two, I wouldn't be too bothered about it.
Yeah,
Alright.
well, if they're in a blue uniform, they're part of Saint-Denis Police Department. And, well, they don't care too much about you, so you decide how you want to treat them. If it's us in Van Horn, well, this is how we treat you, and I hope it is, to your liking.
All right.
It depends on how they are as a person. Don't feel like you're talking to the badge, you are talking to the man or woman wearing the badge.
Actually, so sir will be perfect.
Sir is fine, of course.
All right. Thank you for your help.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, you take care now.
You too.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. There's no one at the Bastille, and I think we can find something like a convenience store to buy some food. Apolline?
Can you hear me? Sorry, I
Yes.
was thinking. So the police officers, they said that we need to check at the Undertaker because it might be suspicious.
The Undertaker.
Yes,
But aren't you angry?
I'm a bit hungry. But I care about my uncle.
I'm sure he's all right.
I'm a bit confused why he told us to check at the Undertaker because he's suspicious. Because, I mean, they are a police officer, so why they don't check by themselves?
So actually,
It's their
he said
work.
that he's a sheriff, police officer is for Saint-Denis.
But they can still work here, no? Can they?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how it works, yeah. So pretty. The inside, sorry.
But do
Pretty.
you know where is the graveyard?
He said that it's this way. I'm a bit scared, I'm gonna be honest. If the slasher story is real, that's scary.
It's not real. It's a legend.
It might be here around.
Why would your uncle be here?
Because, well, that would make sense because I saw him talking to the Undertaker yesterday and also today. So maybe it's you. Hello? Oh. Uncle?
I'm not sure.
Uncle, are you
there.
inside? No, I'm just checking if he's inside.
Nah, I don't think it's a good idea.
Fuck. Uncle? I don't know then.
I'm sure your uncle is perfectly alright. He should. I think he should. He's traveling or something.
No, he literally left me out on nowhere. Listen, yesterday we had a talk with a very strange man with a burned hand, and if I'm not wrong, he said that he was working with the Undertaker inside. I might be wrong, but I remember that guy, and we saw him today with his friends, and they were acting very suspiciously. They was asking if I was rich, and they wanted news from my uncle or whatever. They wanted news, or I don't know. It was very strange. So maybe it's them.
Je n'ai rien compris.
I know.
Where are we going?
La Bastille.
It's empty.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Is there any store that we can buy food here?
I think we can find a convenience store near the clothing store. And there should be some things to eat there. Café marchand.
Meow. Do you have your horse?
My horse is at the stable.
Fair enough.
Good day.
Hello. Uncle. Maybe he went to his bed. Also, we are renting rooms in the newspaper building. There is like a room area where you can rent. You can rent a bedroom for $3 per day.
You did it?
Yes, I have one.
You spent money. I'm so surprised.
I mean, I have to.
Yeah, so you should buy a saddle.
I don't have the money for the saddle.
It's like $5 or something.
Is it $5?
It is.
What is that?
But you have to take money for the blanket too, I think. I don't remember how much I paid.
Fuck, I don't want to have too much dollar though. Did I took it? Thank you for the follow! Action, welcome here. Welcome. Thank you so much. Please enjoy. Enjoy the stream. Oh, sorry, sir.
Well, at least it's not raining today.
Correct. You know, you should buy an umbrella.
Yes, I should.
Those are pretty.
But I have a hat now, so...
Sorry?
I have a hat now.
Yes, but an umbrella is better.
It is.
Hello.
Howdy.
May I ask you something? Have you seen a French man, tall, blonde, walking in Saint-Denis?
Can't say that I have.
It's okay. I think I lost my uncle, which is very weird because he's tall. He's very, very easy to spot.
You said tall and blonde?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Do you know him?
No, I don't think I do. I'll be on the lookout. If I see him, where can I tell him to find you?
Oh, yes. I'm Apolline de Villeneuve. You can say that is how do you say niece in English, Armand?
I have no idea.
I don't know the word in English. You can say that his daughter is looking for him.
Okay.
Nephew or something like
nephew? Is it the word nephew?
Oh, you mean niece?
Is it actually English?
Niece, yeah.
All
niece,
right.
yeah.
Niece.
Yep. All right. Yeah, we'll tell him. And what was your name again?
Apolline de Villeneuve.
Apolline.
Apolline. Yep.
Okay.
Indeed. And are you sheriff? What is that badge?
Yes, I'm the sheriff of Rhodes, and this is my deputy.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your help.
Yeah. If I see him, I'll tell him you're looking for him.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you, madame.
Safe. Goodbye.
I love the lady in green. I think she have. I saw her yesterday with another lady. Do you still have some headache? Oh my god, cousin, I think you are having headache.
Yes. I should be all right.
He's struggling. Action! I think we have met earlier in the newspaper office. Wait, who is your character? Is it the owner of the newspaper? Is that your character? But yeah, welcome. It's so nice to having you here.
So what's the plan now?
The plan is to find food, first of all, because I'm starving. And maybe I will just presume that Uncle went to bed, so maybe we can find a way to make money.
Find a way to make money. We have to study the options. As I said, I'm not good with my hands.
Are you good with your words then?
My English is a disaster.
So you are good at nothing, so you will do what I said then.
I'm good at nothing, and I can hear your advices.
At least you can hear my advices. You have good ears,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Then that will do. No worries. I will give you all the orders.
No advices, no orders.
Advices, sure.
And I don't want to work in politics, shenanigans.
It's completely up to you, but I think that I want to buy food. Wait, how do you buy food?
I told you, near the clothing store.
No, but all right.
Near the clothing store, trust me. I went there yesterday.
I thought it was. Wait, isn't that your general store? I thought it was a general store. What the fuck?
Because I couldn't sleep. So I woke up.
Yes.
And I went to the clothing store and I saw that there was like a general store there.
You Winnie? Wait, please remind me, Action. Who is Winnie? This character?
Maybe I just can send a letter to Father and he will send me more money.
That will surprise me coming from your father, but you can try. But remember what he said when he sent you here in Saint-Denis. It's because he wants you to be a man. A man!
Yes. I will never go mining. I will never go hunting with a bow. I will never do that kind of things.
No, No, listen, Armand. This kind of things doesn't make you a man. It makes you someone, you know. It doesn't make you a man. If you want to be a man, you need to make your proper decision, you know. Be brave. Make your proper decisions, your own decisions.
And my decision is I don't want my hands dirty.
But you need to find a way to make... You know, to make your way here in the county. Isn't that your father? I think that's what your father wants.
Yes.
He's so nonchalant, my god.
Maybe you can work with your uncle and help your cousine.
How can I help you?
By giving me money.
No.
I tried.
I tried.
I have a plan. Hi, Jelly.
Hey guys, how are you?
Do you know if there is a fountain here?
I saw him a few moments ago at the tailor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I needed to fill up my flask.
My flask.
You can buy a flask for $2 and you can refill it.
Oh, I see.
I'm the girl with the red vest. I think I also sold you a newspaper in your saloon the other day. Oh, okay.
Like, you know,
I need to meet more your character.
Present since I arrived.
Oh, my cousin. My cousin. Oh, my cousin. I'm your gift. What are you talking about? My presence is already enough.
But a
You're
flask
so silly.
would be perfect.
No, I have only one.
You're so close to your money. What's the English word for that?
Close to your money, I guess.
All right.
Listen, my father doesn't send me money anyway, so sometimes he does. Actually, even my mother send me monies and letters.
Is she?
But I need to keep it for uncle. You said it's here, the general store?
Yes, you see the big general store thing?
I
That's
see.
the general store.
That is Very obvious, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where's the entrance?
Yeah. Hello, madam.
Hello.
I think it's here. Somewhere. No.
The door's here. If you keep going to your right, it should be right there.
No. Thank you, madam.
Mm-hmm.
Here?
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
here.
Oh,
Found
yes.
it.
Oh my god, who is she again? I remember her voice. Am I wrong? It's L? L? Is that her? Maybe I'm wrong. Apple! I love apples. Delicious.
Cigarette.
Yes, Grindel. Is it her? I'm so lost. I don't know if it's her. Is she eating? Yeah, action, same. You're the same in real life? That's how you save money.
All right.
I need something better than apple. Is she eating anyway? I think she's not eating it.
Oh, Lord.
Wow! Wait!
Why did you throw it like that?
This apple annoys me. It was rotten. Can I throw it? Yeah! Take that!
No. But I need to go very quick to the closing store.
Sure. I follow you. He almost took it in the face. She got the arm of a baseball pitcher. I was not expecting that.
Good day.
Oh, hello. Oh. Wait. What? They just disappear? So many people. I think they just disappear. Oh, Grindel, thank you for the clip. Oh, I want to see. Please, I swear, if there is something behind. Oh no, it's closed. I was expecting this room to be open. Thank you so much for the clip. I don't know if he disappears. I don't know. I don't know if he's coming back. But I want to show you something that I saw yesterday in La Bastille. And for who knows, you know, I used to play in Wild. I used to play a character named Eleanor, and she used to work in La Bastille, you know. And La Bastille is this place. And she used to sell alcohols and things over there. And they actually modded La Bastille, and it's so crazy. I want to show you that. I don't want to show you the underground too much, but what they did is insane. Is the La Bastille update with the underground club? Yes. Oh, you saw this, Grendel? Man. Oh, Jelly is here.
Rub your eye.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
How are ya? Doing well. How about you?
Good. I was wondering, Jelly, is it possible to see downstairs?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Help yourself.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Of course. How you doing, ma'am?
Hello. Would I be able to get a meal, please?
Look. I will show you only that because I mean there is also things here. But look. Man, what the fuck? When I saw that yesterday, I was like, Imagine Eleanor in this place, right? Like, imagine my previous character owning this kind of place. Boy. It's insane. I love this place. Oh. I would love having Eleanor working in this kind of place. She will fit perfectly. This is so pretty. The work they made. It's low-key. Looks like a brothel. Kinda. Because look, like... I mean... Yeah, you know. Okay, boobies and titties everywhere. Okay, yeah. That is the vibe, okay? Boobies and titties. That's what we want. Okay? But this place is so pretty. I'm in love with this place. I will show you that, but also... Wait, I think I'm lost. Ah, no. I'm not lost. I want to show you that, but also... I will give you a sneak peek. There is something downstairs. I will not show you. But apparently the buildings in Saint-Denis, they have like an underground area, which is very interesting and which gives in this server a lot of opportunities for crime. Okay, this is in the street. But it's awesome. It's awesome. Oh, my apologize. Are they talking? Wait. Can they see me? Is it dusty? I don't know if you can hear them, but I can't hear them. I think it's maybe a bit dusty or lagging. Hello?
Listen, you know.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay.
She's a high roller.
Hello, Flo.
Well,
I see that.
howdy. Just a little generous. That's
Howdy.
all right.
Hello.
Thank you, Long.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I don't technically own the place, but hopefully in due time I could, and I'd be happy to, maybe run some food over to you guys, maybe in bulk if you need something down there in Rhodes.
You know what? That would actually be lovely.
Yeah, we
let
can- we can
me
work on
talk
that.
with my deputies and see kind of what they feel. Some of them might want salmon over beef,
Of
but
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a
that sounds good.
telegram actually?
I do indeed, Sheriff. If you got a notebook, I'd be happy to read it to you.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get this out of my pocket.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, you know, these telegram numbers these days. They're getting longer and longer.
They really do. They really,
Mhm.
really do.
Yeah.
To get longer and
I'll
longer.
be back. I'm going to the tailor real quick.
All right, Flo.
Oh, wait, what the
All
fuck?
right.
What?
All right. The name is Jilly Rizzo. JILLYRIZZO. And the telegram number is CPS, cheese pizza slices,
Oh,
46220.
that is a smart way
Four,
to
six-
say it.
Ooh, 46220.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will definitely be letting you know because
Yeah, fantastic.
if I can save a trip to Blackwater, ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Well,
Yeah, hopefully soon we can, keep expanding the menu. So I'll let you know in due time. And when I stop by Rhodes, I'll definitely stop by and say hello to you guys at the office over there.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll
Yeah,
get out your hair.
Of course. And no
Thank
worries
you
at all.
again.
Of course. Thank you. It was good to meet you too.
Likewise.
Goodbyes.
All right.
Goodbye.
How was the basement?
Pretty. I love
Yeah,
the
it's very
color.
nice.
I must
Yeah.
say, I'm not a fan of the painting. It's a bit too obvious, I guess. You know, too much
Yeah.
flesh.
Yeah.
But
Little on
besides
the nose.
that, I mean, you know, it's pretty. It's a beautiful
Mhm.
establishment. Sorry, I'm starving. May I
Of
have
course,
food?
yeah. Indeed. We got some new stuff. We got some prime rib. We also have some salmon, if any of that sounds good to you. But we still also have the venison steaks and the chicken on the sticks, big game meat platters, all that stuff.
Well, what is the less expensive? I'm very rich. I just don't have a lot of money on me.
Of course.
All
There's
right.
No worries.
I
I can get you a chicken on a stick platter, which is 3 chicken on a sticks for $0.25, if that works for you.
What is a quarter?
25 cents, sorry.
All right. Yes, perfect.
All right, sounds good. Hey, Levi, will you maybe go to the edge of the bar just so I can make sure I hand it right across the counter to her?
Yeah.
So rich.
All right. You need a glass of water or anything with this?
No. I'm good with the water. But do I have wine or alcohol? Thank you.
I'm still trying to figure that bit out. I haven't been able to find anybody that's been able to supply me with any of that yet, sadly. So maybe soon, but trust me, when I know, you guys will know.
Okay.
Whew.
Did I? Wait, I'm trying to give you the money. Hold on.
No worries.
How are you today, Sergeant?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good.
He said 25. Why is that? Why is
Just
that
telling everybody we
working?
got some new food in. We got some prime beef. We also have some nice salmon. So I'm starting to expand the menu just a little bit by a little bit.
Oh, that's great. I keep that.
Why
in
is it
mind.
not working,
Yes.
guys?
How you doing, sir, down there? You doing all right?
Good day, sir.
Sì, signore, buonasera.
Can I help you with anything? You need a drink of water or anything?
Goodness.
I could use a little bit of water, signore.
Sure.
What do you have?
Yeah. You need some food too?
Sì, signore. Per
Hey, that
favore.
was the guy who puked in the table, I think.
Hey, Levi.
Yeah.
I would like
Do
something
me
else
a
from you,
favor.
though.
All right.
Yeah, what's up?
Switch me behind the counter.
Okay. Oh, you're giving me stuff?
Do you have some things on you could sell?
No, I don't.
Like
Yeah.
you need to work the like you need me to work the counter?
Yeah, just for a minute. Help this man out.
Okay, all right. Did you guys get your food?
So there is an issue. I can't give a quarter, but I can give
Say
$1.
again?
So if, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Yes.
Oh, sorry. So I can't give a quarter for some reason. I can only give $1. So do you mind to give me 3 other plates?
I mean, I can give you change. I have change.
No. Give me 3 plates. It will be enough.
All right. And what did he give you?
Game bird.
Okay, hold on. Let me get it from him. I apologize.
No, it's good. Oh, I think I heard my echo in his voice. You okay, cousin?
This man was smelling like
shit.
All right.
I know.
We're out of chicken, but I'll just give you this. It's worth the same. If you just want to give me $1.
Okay, that will be enough. That will do. Thank you.
There you are.
And do you know where I can fill up my flask?
Did you get that?
Do you know where I can fill up my flask?
Hello?
No? Okay. Wait, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think I'm whispering to my... I was whispering to my cousin. I'm sorry. Do you know where I can fill up my flask?
Yes. If you go to the bank, okay, and you walk like you're going to the gun store, there's going to be an alleyway. And in that alleyway, there's a pump. Well, against the wall.
Very well, very well.
Yes.
All right. Do you need anything, cousin?
No, thank you.
All right, then.
All right, well, you guys have a good day, or you can hang around here, whichever one.
You too, sir.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sir Jelly.
Thank you,
Of
Jelly.
course, you guys have a good night.
Oh, goodness.
What's wrong?
You were smelling like les égouts.
Yes, it smells like vomit. Ew. I'm sure it's not from Saint-Denis.
I was expecting more... a better standard.
That's weird that Mr. Jelly let this kind of people inside the La Bastille.
Oh, you look very scared looking.
So many voices that I know, I think. So many voices that reminds me ranch or wild, or, it reminds me home.
I was thinking about something.
Please tell me.
Maybe you can find a rich
Oh no,
husband.
I knew that you were about to say something like that.
I can find a rich, how do you say?
A rich wife.
Wife. That's a better career plan.
That is the easy way. Or is it that easy? I don't think it's easy, but you really want to get married? You sure? I think...
No, I just don't want to work.
No, but
Apolline.
your wife needs to be very rich.
Yes, that's the plan.
And you need to marry a rich wife. That means that you will be a husband. And generally, a husband provides the money also. Not only the wife, but also the husband.
No.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it works like
it's
that.
18.99.
I
Come
know.
on. That's a big flask.
I want to put it back in my pocket. Trust me. I don't know. Can I put it back? All right, there you go. I don't want to get married. I have so many things to do with Uncle. And if
I don't mind to get married if she's rich.
well, maybe we can find you a rich wife then.
Yes.
Maybe the lady in the police department, she might be rich.
Not my style.
What do you mean? You are so picky. You should not be picky. Look at you, Armand.
Bonjour.
Wait, who is talking? Sorry?
Huh?
Bonjour.
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 Would you like another newspaper?
Oh, is it the same one?
Is it the same?
Yeah. It's the volume 1.
No, I already bought two, Leonardo. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Pretty hurt, but you know.
Hurt?
Yeah, some crazy person up in Ansburg stabbed me in the shoulder. Not like stab, but like slashed on my shoulder. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Is it a Sandoni slasher, maybe?
I don't know.
No, he said
but they were up in Ansburg, you know? So it kind of confused me a little bit.
Please tell me what does it look like?
It was a she.
Oh, well, never mind then.
Is it like an ex-girlfriend or lover?
No, I don't date girls from Ansburg.
Oh, why?
And she went here?
Because Ansburg, you know the room. To be honest, that's the first time I've been to Ansburg.
Oh,
and
so
after
it was
seeing
not
it,
Ansburg.
I don't think I want to date someone from Ansburg. You know, there's so much smog up there and so much smoke. I've never smoked a cigarette, but in my opinion, I feel like what I breathed or breathed or breathed felt like 100 cigarettes an hour or minute.
And
maybe a minute.
You can't tell Annesburg. I mean, the hair here is not that fresh, you know. There is also the industries here.
Yeah, the smoke. Apolline?
Correct. Please call me Mademoiselle.
I'll call you Apple.
No, you call me Mademoiselle. Apple!
That's good.
Have you also been called Apple today?
No, but they call me Apple, and I think you should not call me Apple. Please call me Mademoiselle. That will be enough.
I will call you Mademoiselle, all right?
Perfect.
Madame.
No, I'm not married. It's Mademoiselle.
Yes, she's not married.
What? So Madame means married?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, hopefully one day you two. All right. I gotta go sell in these papers.
All right.
All right.
We are not in Paris, Apolline.
Oh, still. I think it's important, the labels, the etiquette on people, you know. I think it's very important.
Yes.
Stance instead of because I know some guys that can do this, you know, it'd be more of a, you know, be more official.
I think I might go to your Apple.
You can, because I know you for so long.
So he cannot because he all right, I see.
No, because I don't know him. Leonardo? Is that was his name?
Leonardo is a nice man.
What was his last name? Did he told us? Yeah, I don't know either.
No, he told us. He told us. It's
What
like
is it?
An Italian city. I forgot.
Venice?
Vinici.
Roma? Maybe Roma?
You kind of ran into the horse.
You know, listen, if you want to be in the know, you have to know to be in the know. You know.
want to have to know.
Madam is selling the best newspaper in the
That's
city.
right.
You should buy
That's
some.
right.
I
50
believe
cent. 50 cent a paper.
50 cents. I'm
Hey, Armand, you should sell the new paper. You should be
Hello,
a
madame.
salesman. Hello.
She have a French cancan dress.
She does. Maybe she works at La Bastille. You should ask her. Maybe she's very wealthy. Maybe she have a lot of money.
I don't think.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Apolline
What
the
are we doing?
apple. I mean, it's cute. Wifey material.
I'm scared she took it bad. If I go there and ask, are you a French cancans
Non.
dancer? Elle pourrait le prendre comme une insulte.
Don't ask it like that.
Peut-être que le French cancan est une chose mal vue ici.
Oh, all right. And I will go to the stable and buy a saddle since you're complaining about that.
It's just good manners. You don't want people to call you Madame or Apple, but you're riding horse without a saddle, like an Amazon.
I can't afford the saddle. That's why. And the lady, it's all because of the lady. She told me that the saddle is not that important. She told me that. It's okay.
I will wait for you here so you can go first.
Very well. Can you imagine to be married to Armand? He would just sit around and complain. I swear, he's so nonchalant, right? I swear. He doesn't want to work, he wants easy money without doing anything.
Mind if I ask what you do for work?
But how can I tell him that right now there is nobody with a lot of money? How can I tell him that without making him disappointed? Jolie. The horse is outside. Oh, wait, should I put it inside? Hello.
Yeah.
Wait. It would be a good nagging wife. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Stable horse. Okay, I see. Oh! Wait. I think I'm not supposed to do that. Oops, 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 oops. So how does it work? Manage, Jolie. Buy. Okay. It's $2. No. It's so expensive. Pink. Buy. Can I? Yes. Okay. Perfect. Bark. Super expensive. Ah, okay. Okay, Chan, thank you. I wasn't sure. Wait, what are the name in French? I just realized. What is it in French? What the fuck? The name of the saddle. Fuck. I like this one. No, I don't like it. I like this one. Cute. $5. I'm
sorry.
I knew I can't buy a saddle. I knew I don't have the money. Oh my god. My god. $2, brother! He wants me to buy a saddle, but I can't. It's too expensive. I can't. Fuck the saddle. Wait, where's my horse? Horse! Horse! I've never seen a flying horse before. Hi, Teddy! How are you doing? How are you? Bequeath? Bequeath? What is that? What is bequeath? What does that mean? Is it bad? Is it bequeath to? That means that I can give it to a player? Fuck! I don't want to give the horse. To give. Oh, okay, thank you, Grindel. Perfect. Hi, Teddy. Hope you're doing good. Happy Saturday. Oh, at least we have a... At least we have the rug. Wait. We have $3. Oh. Wait. Why the horse doesn't want to run? Can you run? Oh, there you go. Okay. I can't show the horse like that to Armand. He might scream. Hello, ladies. Looking good.
Hello.
What a spontaneous reaction. It's very cute. I will... Oh! I can't. I will just take the money for the saddle. Just for the saddle. I don't know if it's difficult to make money here, but I bet it is. So... Okay. I'm not a fan of the animation. I think it's not. It makes me a bit confused, you know. This animation makes me a bit confused. I feel like I'm not doing the right thing. Okay, so which one it was? No. Oh, can you move? Can I move? Wow. Ooh. I like this one. $5, that's all we have. That's all. Fuck.
Nice horse.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay. I'll wait for you.
Where is the horse? Where is the horse? Where is she going? What? I'm not doing anything. She's walking by herself. Where is she going? Where are you going? I'm not doing anything, I swear. She's just walking. Wait, what is Where is she going? I can't move. Wait. What? Where is the horse? Where is she going? Well, I guess she's leaving Saint Denis. All right. Next stop, Armadillo. No, she's just walking. She's walking. All right, Apolline, can you stop? I'm wondering where is she going though. The fact that I can't move, I swear. Can you stop? Wait. Would F1 would possibility reset her? Can I reset? No, she's actually going somewhere. Oh wait. She stopped. Well. Free saddle! But I can't move. I can't move. Maybe I need to restart. I don't know. I will restart. Hold on. I restart the game. I think it's totally normal that the server is a bit lagging, you know. It's not perfect yet. It was opened only yesterday, so it's totally normal. I don't blame the server at all. A little stroll, yes. Exactly, you know. a girl, please. God forbid that a girl needs to, you know, to stretch her legs, walk a bit in the city. Oh my god. The music is loud. I hope Armand did not left without saying anything like uncle. Same. Action, same. The music is very loud, you know. If I put it like that, I think it's good. Jump scare. All right. We're back in game. Yeah, no worries. Oh! Free saddle. Is it mine? Have a good lunch, Action. Thank you again for the lurk. Have a good ding ding. Hey, Grindel, I was wondering, do you know if Tass plays in the server? Is she here? Oh, no way. Oh, you know, that makes me happy. I'm happy. I love her. She's a deputy. Oh, really? I'm so happy. Hey, Puppet. Yeah, I'm back on the roleplay, you know. I'm back, like. It's a new server. The entire Rhodes deputy crew are women? Oh my god. That's amazing. That's great. How are you doing, Puppet? Happy Saturday. Hope you're doing amazing. Yep. It's the new server, the Rosalita server. It opens... it was open yesterday officially. Okay, I don't know what to do with this saddle. I think I'm doing something wrong. Sorry.
Excuse me.
Rider? Please. Oh, fuck! Fuck! I don't want to ride this horse! Oh, I apologize. Oh! I think it's your horse. Oh!
He's a bit of a menace. Yeah, he's a menace.
Same.
I'll get him out of the way.
Fuck! Can I take my horse? Wait, can I take her? No, I can't. Can I? Yes. Where is the saddle, though? Oh my god, I swear. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. If Armand sees that, he will just scream. My scream. I scream. outside.
Apolline?
She's not here. Oh, fuck!
What are you doing?
Oh, you can't tell. I'm putting the saddle on the horse. Well, I'm putting it back, but then I will put it on the horse. Fuck!
Is it that complicated?
Just give me some time, okay?
Can't you pay someone to do it, like a garçon d'écurie or something?
A stable boy? I wish I
Yes.
can. Can you be my stable boy, actually?
No. There is vomiting, there is shit everywhere.
I think it's the guy in La Bastille.
Well, I just met a Frenchman.
Oh, really now? Where is he?
I don't know. He went on a promenade. His name is Jacques.
What? Wait.
Jacques Sinclair.
Sinclair!
But, how to say? He was dressed like a Gavroche, un garçon de quartier populaire.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
oh, look
you
at
know.
you have a saddle now.
I have a saddle. A beautiful saddle and a rug.
Perfect.
I think it's perfect enough. Where is your horse? Hop on.
I'm gonna take my horse.
Sure. Oh, Sinclair! He got whitelisted. That's so great. He applied. I'm happy. Why has everyone left Wild RP? Has something happened? Yeah, pretty much something happened. I can't tell too much because I don't know the other parts for the people, but to me, a lot of my friends got banned from Wild. And a bunch of people, you know, in the 2 years that I played in Wild, like 20 of my friends got banned. I'm not even exaggerating. Oh, he's leaving! He's leaving! He's doing the same thing. Look at him. A night stroll, I see.
My horse seems to be far away.
The horse is very far away, trust me. It's at the end of this street.
Really?
Yeah. Marchons, marchons.
Qu'un sang pur.
Oh, are you leaving the city now?
I don't know what I'm doing.
What do you mean you don't know? You are walking.
Yes, I try to find my horse.
What is your horse name again?
Cheval.
Oh, that's true. Cheval!
I'm sure I haven't let him there. Yes.
Oh, well. He had exactly the same issue as me. Let's wait. Yeah, a lot of things are going in this new server. A lot of former players from Wild are here. And I think the level, the quality level here is kinda the same as Wild. The level here seems very good. So yeah, I'm happy to be back in Wild. I'm so happy. I'm so excited to discover things and play with people and see my friends. I'm so happy. Might be back. Yeah, Grindel, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. I really look forward for in the future of this server.
Well, I'm gonna ride with you.
Sure.
No, good lord, I think I need to go to the closing star.
Oh, thank you for the love. Thank you, Teddy.
The couture on my coat. How do you say couture in English?
Stitches.
The stitches on my coat broke again.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, I see. Oh, same. I should maybe change the skirt.
Yes, I think so. But not for the same reasons.
Well, it
Sorry.
was terrible because of the
Sorry.
journey.
Why do you ask?
Do you know anything of this place? Anything else?
So many Italians. We need more French. Oh, free apple. Can't eat. I can't eat.
All right.
Is it when you raise your arm up or only when you are on horses?
And no, it's difficult to explain.
No, it's okay. It's okay. The apple struggle is real today, I swear. There is apples.
So you're gonna change or?
There is apples everywhere. No, I will not change.
All right, I'm ready then.
Okay, good. Everybody's
Right.
struggling.
Ladies first.
Thank you. Oh, Armand. I just remember something. I saw two ladies. I think they are twins. And they seem very wealthy. There's a lot of money. Maybe you can marry both.
Both?
Mm-hmm. Both twins.
Like I marry two women?
Indeed.
Like a ménage à trois?
Shit, I was screaming.
I'm not sure they're doing that kind of thing in America.
I mean, they're twins, so who cares which one you're married? You can marry both, right?
I'm not sure. Let's ask. Madame?
Hello there.
Hello, madame. First of all, I would say your French cancan dress is absolutely wonderful.
Guys, I have a twin sister in real life. That's why I can say that, okay?
Yes, it's perfect. I have a cultural question. Sorry. I don't know a lot of things about America way of life.
Of course.
Is it something normal here to marry two women at the same time?
But twins.
In relation to each other?
Yes. So you married
yes.
a twin sister. Can you marry both?
I don't believe that you can get married to a family member. But who knows what the fuck they do down in
I mean-
Valentine.
No. Not the sisters married. No, I mean.
No. Can you marry
no.
a twin?
You want to marry them both.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Is
I
it
don't
something
see
normal?
why not.
Okay.
If they both agree to it, they both want to marry you, they both want to keep you all for themselves, they might as well, I suppose.
I told
Just
you,
like in
Armand,
Paris.
it's America. Or in Paris.
I didn't know.
Yes.
I wanted to be sure.
You better get yourself some twins.
No, she was exposing me the ID.
It's an idea. It's a possibility. Do you have a lot of money? Are you rich by any chance? Just wondering.
Oh, I am quite rich, honey.
Oh!
But I ain't got shit to spare. Now, I have to go find my maid. I'm so sorry to cut this short, but I will be
alright.
seeing y'all. The name's
See you, madame.
Constance, by the way.
Constance.
Constance.
Oui.
My name is Armand.
Oh, it is just a pleasure to meet y'all.
Cher
Goodbye.
Pleasure is all
Goodbye.
mine. Goodbyes. Armand.
Well, I'm surprised. They're very liberal.
And she's very single, I think.
Yes, but I'm not a dog.
No, but she's rich.
Yes. Take my time.
Yeah, take your time. See all the possibilities, you know. But she said it's possible. So if you married the twins, you can marry both, and you can have you double the amount of money. You know, Arnaud. Think about business. You know, think about the money that you can make.
Yes, it's an option on the table.
It's crazy.
No mining for me.
No, but if you can't do that, what you can do then? What you can do with your small hands? And I don't know.
I can be pretty.
You can do that actually. Yes. Smile.
Exactly.
Smile. Show me your smile. Are you smiling, Lana?
Yes. But for the next people we encounter, I should present you as my cousin, so they don't think we are like in couple.
Every time I say that you are my cousin, you know.
All right.
The way you smile. I can't.
So for the moment, there is no parties, no wine, no decadence, no nothing. I have to work.
Armand,
and father is not
Armand.
around anymore to give me money.
Don't
and your
panic.
cousin,
I
your
know that you are
uncle-
panicking. Come here.
I'm not.
You are panicking. I can tell.
I'm not.
You have a rictus on your face. I can tell. Even if your face is perfect, but
I just make a constat.
you don't have to work. But
I know. I will never work.
But if you don't want to work, even though if it's the reason why your father sent you here, you needed to find a way to have money because I cannot provide every time. I can pay you things here and there,
What
but
do
I
you
cannot
mean
provide.
every time?
I can't
I
give.
provided you.
You didn't.
You did nothing.
You did
I
not.
bought you food.
No,
Because
I
it's
buy
normal.
it.
You're my
I
cousin.
gave it.
I take care of you. You're my cousin. It's totally normal. If you need food, I
Why are you
give to
asking for money then?
I never asked you for money, no? Did I?
No, you did. You did few
I
times.
don't remember.
Oh, I do.
All right. Yes,
So-
because you can help your cousin.
Yes, obviously I can help you. Can you send a telegram to your father and ask him to send you some dollars?
Yes, I will send a letter.
Okay, that would be nice.
I try.
I hope it will be generous enough.
But the constat, how do you say constat in English?
The
paint. Let's say, here is the paint. No
Yes.
parties, no wine. Every time you talk to someone, they're talking to you about money or want to sell you something.
Mm-hmm. What's wrong with
And
that?
I don't know. What happened to the, courtoisie? Just have a normal discussion with someone without them to try to scam you or sell you something.
No, there is also this kind of conversation. I think you didn't meet the good person. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess if you want to have a party, you can organize it.
Without wine.
I'm sure there is alcohol somewhere. Maybe not the wine.
Champagne. I need champagne.
Well, me too. But if you want to have alcohol, you need to find a saloon.
What is a saloon?
If I'm not wrong, a saloon is like a bar. Hello. A saloon is
Hello.
like a bar, but less fancy.
All right. Do you have any news from your uncle?
No, I hope he went to bed. I hope. I might go to bed soon as well. I'm getting
All
tired. The day was long.
What are we doing here?
I thought you wanted to send a telegram right now, but you know what? I will show you the building where we sleep.
All right.
Have you seen the newspaper building?
No, I didn't.
I'll show you then. The owner is a very decent man, and he paid for the 2 first days of the rent.
He paid?
He paid.
So
Me
the owner
and
paid
and uncle.
Oh.
He gave us
Very
$15.
generous.
Yes.
He gave you $15?
Yes.
Yes, I really have to meet the right persons.
So pretty. I think it's this way.
Sunday Times Tribune.
Okay, it's here. Upstairs.
All right.
Put on the light and I'll show you.
Oh! Who's talking?
It is very moody and dark in here, you know?
It is the dark paint doesn't reflect light too well.
Yes, you did describe it.
apologies.
I
madam.
apologize. Sorry.
Apologize.
Hello.
Apologies.
Oh, sorry. Oh, jeez.
Apologies. There you go. Sorry, everyone.
And here. And upstairs again. It's a maze, but I'm sure you will remember.
This is a labyrinth.
It is. And upstairs again. So many stairs.
This is like to go.
And now, I think it was this way.
But the walls.
The walls?
The wall.
The wall?
Look.
Okay. Oh. I think it's here. Alright. This is the room that I rent. I will show you. Sorry?
This is where the maid live, but where do you live?
What do you mean?
I mean, that's where the maid lives.
Armand, sweetheart, don't to sleep in the street.
But
I don't have a choice.
That's a chambre de bonne.
It's modest, I agree.
It's not. It's more than modest.
Maybe you can ask to la Bastille. Maybe they can give you a room. It's like, what the fuck is that girl?
That was a funny joke. Now, show me where do you live.
Oh, sorry. Oh, let me show you where I live. Let me show you. Do you see the establishment in the front? Here? Do you see the town, the whole town? Do you see it?
Yes.
Well, I don't live here. I live here. Here. Like, here.
You live here?
Here. Not there.
That's a very funny joke, Apolline. You took like the maid room and now show me where do you live.
Armand. It actually breaks my heart, but I actually live here. Like here.
Oh no.
I mean, you'll be okay. Armand, take my hand.
Not a joke.
Take my hand.
No.
Listen, your father, he wants you to be a man. And I know it's horrible, but you need to sleep here in this establishment, this very modest establishment, okay?
I cannot do that.
I
want to go back to Paris.
I know. Me too. Same. But at least you have a roof. Because trust me, you will sleep in the street.
Besides, not a roof. That is hell. I'm sure there is rats and things like that.
Maybe. Oh, I'm sure of it. Oh, Armand. Let me give you some money for your room.
All right, thank you.
All right, get up. It's like, okay, girl.
For the money?
Well, you can rent this room now for a day.
Look at the wall. No, you
I
cannot
know.
stay here.
No,
It's
I
not
know.
possible.
I know. It's a bit disgusting. Did you rent it?
No, I would never rent something like this.
Armand, I
Honestly,
gave you
that I was
$3.
Oh, you gave it to me.
Armand, I literally gave you $3. Now spend it for the
sorry, I
rent.
No, I'm gonna give
Armand.
it back to you.
No.
I will not
Well-
rent something here.
All right.
I
Well,
prefer
you
to
will
keep my
sleep in my
dignity.
room then. Do you want to sleep in my
No.
room? You can sleep on the floor.
No, I'm gonna go to La Bastille.
Okay, let's go to La Bastille and let's ask.
No, it's okay. It's all right. You wanted to sleep, right?
Yes.
Okay,
But
go to sleep.
I want
and
you to be
I will take care of
comfortable.
myself.
Okay.
I'll find. I'll sleep in a lady's apartment or something.
Sorry?
I will meet someone and flirt and sleep in her apartment or something like that, you know.
Okay, that is smart actually. That is
Well,
very smart.
Good luck with your.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, good
Apolline,
luck
Bunny.
with ladies.
Yes.
Just look at the view. I love it. I love it. I'm still in shock that they actually modded something like that in San Antonio. That's so pretty. I've never seen San Antonio like that. I know, Grinder, right? I will pay $100 to sleep in this room. Look how pretty is it. So we ran to this room and there is a storage. You can put things, but this room will not be ours in 24 hours because I only paid for like 1 day or 2 days. I don't remember. So we needed to earn money to rent the room again and again. All right, guys. Is there anybody that can read right now? Because I'm trying to find some people in Rosalita who stream, but I feel like nobody's streaming right now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't find any streamers in Twitch right now. I'm trying. RosalitaRP. Oh no, actually I'm wrong. What the fuck? I'm actually wrong. I will read Mayhem. Oh wait, it also plays Bosch Island. Oh my god. Oh my god, I would definitely stream Mayhem. Sorry. I love Bosch Island. Ecto is streaming, but not rated to. Oh, what is he streaming? Dungeon. Bodega Simulator. Dungeon Bodega Simulator, I see. I will hop on his stream and say hi, but I will read Mayhem. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I might stream tomorrow. I will see if I'm not too tired. But I'm very excited to see the next. What is going on? All right. I love you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye. Say hi to Mayhem for me. Go to my birthday lunch though. Oh, okay. Happy birthday. Love you.